So I just read a really good article, and it was interesting. And the gentleman, the writer, I believe that his name is Brathwaite, he posited that Angela Bassett should have had an action sequence. And to me, that really didn't make too much sense. Because, for example, just going on a quick segue, I had trouble even with Shuri, the present character. I had trouble with her in the original Black Panther because she really couldn't really fight. And then they had her in fight scenes, but they didn't really show her development to be really even in a position to fight. I mean, just having tech, but not even really doing any training doesn't really make any sense. So why do I say that? Let's take Batman, for example, that's from DC. So Batman uses a lot of tech, but Batman can actually fight. And Batman actually took the time to train extensively his physical body. So that's like a perfect example right there. Now back to Angela Bassett. Basically, Angela Bassett is the movie. Angela Bassett's performance in Wakanda Forever really is the bulk of the movie. If you're going to go see it, you're going to see it because you want to see Angela Bassett's performance. And I believe, yeah, she should win something for her performance in that movie. The bulk of the movie, she carries the movie. That's the movie. You want to see Angela Bassett, you go see the movie. Outside of that, really, to me, he brings up, for example, the heart-shaped herb. And really, I had questions about the heart-shaped herb. And I was wondering, and I was always thinking this, like, why didn't they, for example, replicate the herb using her brother's blood? For example, that was one of my first thoughts. And I'm sure some people will say, well, hey, that's not really possible. Why isn't it possible? Why not? But why isn't it possible? I'm sure they kept his blood in the laboratory. Why wouldn't they be able to identify it? Or, you know, supposedly they're so advanced. You know, the idea that they took this trinket from Namor City and that from that they were able to create the heart-shaped herb didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so you're gonna kind of fake it, so I'll fake it with you, but didn't make any sense. So with the gentleman who wrote the article is that I don't really know that I agree that the Queen needed to die. So I don't think the Queen needed to die, really. I think the Queen really should have been on the throne, and then she should have been contested by M'Baku. Now that to me would have made more sense, that she would have been contested by M'Baku and that she would have stayed on the throne, because that would have been a real clear spin-off into number 3. So the whole idea that M'Baku, for example, remains unchallenged, and he's only unchallenged because the Queen is dead, I don't know if that really totally makes sense. So the only way an action sequence with the Queen would have made sense is that you would have to really suspend disbelief, and you would just be assuming that everybody in Wakanda can fight. But you would have to create that for us. You would have to explain that to us. You would have to maybe do flashback scenes of them being kids and learning how to fight. If you did that, then that would make sense. So as far as the heart-shaped herb, they could have done a bunch of different things. So some of the things that they could have done is they could have, for example, had Shuri develop the illness that, for example, maybe her brother had, and then she needed a transfusion, and then that caused her to get the power. They could have done all kinds of different things. They could have located the heart-shaped herb in some remote village in Wakanda that most people hadn't been to. It could have been found in a cave, for example, in M'Baku's territory. It's kind of endless, really the things that they could have done. They were just sort of focused on replicating it with tech, but they could have also just have miraculously found it someplace. That really would have been quite interesting. So no, Angela Bass being the Black Panther, even for 5 seconds, would have been completely inane. Not only would have been totally off of, the canon, which, as we know, the movie is totally off of the canon for Black Panther, but it just logically, even for the hodgepodge that they created, would have made it even probably worse, and probably would have affected the box office draw even further. Outside of that, give us a like later.